ladies, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about how do we know and when do we know that we are doing things right, that we're doing things right to achieve the manifestation of the lifestyle that God has intended us to live and enjoy. So we're going to be talking about this question, and by the end of this video you're going to have a little bit more of an understanding as to how to make sure that you're continuing the path and following the purpose that God has for you in your life. And so if you are interested in learning more about us and seeing other videos, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell below to keep posted on new videos. And so why am I talking about these things? I really lived a life where I thought that I was in control, that if I did well in school, if I had a good job, if I got paid enough money, if I worked hard enough, if I was looked pretty enough, that I would really be doing okay and feeling good. And so at some point, I became aware that I was kind of like a hamster in a wheel, and that I really wasn't getting anywhere, that I really wasn't happy, that I really wasn't living in the life that God had intended for me to live. And so we're going to focus today on Mark 4 verses 24 to 25, right? And it says, "Then he said to them, 'Be diligent to understand the meaning behind everything you hear, for as you do, more understanding will be given to you. And according to the depth of your longing to understand, much more will be added to you. For those who listen with open hearts will receive more revelation, but those who don't listen with open hearts will lose what little they think they have.'" And so what I understand from this is that when we think that we know what we're doing, and when we think that we are in control and we don't listen to God's word, we don't listen to God's purpose in our life, that we really, we're really not getting ahead. We're not living the life that God intended for us fully and joyfully. And so, when we talked about Sarah, we saw that Sarah bought in the maidservant to try to propel God's purpose and God's promise to them. And we saw that was a failed attempt. She tried to bring in the maidservant. The maidservant did have children for Abraham, but she, then that stirred up feelings in Sarah, and that caused her to be upset and send her away and jealous, and so she still wasn't, when she put her foot in it and she tried to take care of it so she could do what God had intended for her life, she messed it up. And so we also do the same thing. Like, we do not need to bring in the side chick to fulfill God's promises, right? We need to really spend time with God in prayer. And I know we keep stressing this out, but this is the only way that you can connect with God. It's the way that we connect with anyone, right? In order to keep a relationship with a friend, you spend time with them, you talk to them. And so that's really what prayer is spending time with God and talking to God about you, about your dreams, your hopes. And God will then in return give you and reveal to you what those goals and dreams should be, what that should look like, how you're going to get there. And so our job is not to try to figure it out and come up with a plan and scheme and hustle our way to his promise. Our job is to stay in continued prayer and to not intermingle our own desires, our own thoughts into God's promise, because God does not need our help in figuring this out, right? We need his help. So when we honor the Lord, he will honor us in return by being more intimate with us, but also by revealing his promises in due time. God has a plan, and if we commit ourselves to live our lives to him, then he will reveal more and more and more to us. And so just coming to terms with the fact that we don't know anything, right? Like, we think we have it all figured out, but then, comes a curveball and we're like, oh crap, right? So just instead of standing in a position where we feel like we know it all, really relying on the Lord. And so we're going to ask you to really identify a time in your life where you did the opposite of what God was expecting from you. And how did that turn out, right? How did that manifest? And just kind of meditate in that. What was a time in your life where you took control, like Sarah took control, and it really ended up hindering the process, delaying the process, hurting, in pain? And so we want to encourage you to really think about that. And so if you are, interested in learning more about us, check out our Instagram link at unorthodox_group, and don't forget to hit like. Blessings.